people in and outside of Toastmasters, welcome to making Canva your canvas. So this is designed, folks, to be a very simple and straightforward introduction to Canva. We are going to learn a little bit about some design essentials or some considerations as we go into using the tool. We're going to explore the tool a little bit, and then most importantly, we are going to learn by doing. So if you are not yet at your computer, perhaps you're using the mobile application, whatever it is, let's ensure that within the next 30 minutes, you are around the machine, around something that you can utilize. What you're going to find is that Canva and many of these digital tools are very much intuitive, and it's a lot about learning by doing. I'm going to go through as much as we can in this time frame, but really, if you want to be a master, just like in Toastmasters or in anything else in life, you kind of have to apply yourself beyond the rudimentary knowledge that I'm going to share with you here today. So before we start to look at the tool itself, what I really want to introduce you guys to are some fundamentals that I want you to always consider when you're designing. Remember, Canva is simply a tool, and tools are only as good as the people who are using them. Now, I understand that we are not all designers, we all are not maybe marketers or in the space where this is a part of what you do every single day. So we're going to, before we start to play around with the actual tool, look at a few tips that I want you guys to ensure that you remember so that we lay the foundation of making sure that you're able to use Canva and design things that are a good reflection of you and what it is that you're trying to achieve. So a few housekeeping rules. I may not be able to look at the chat consistently, but please drop your messages in the chat, and at different intervals, I will be going back to them and answering questions as we go along. Let's try and stick with time. We're trying to work with time here. So I'm going to have a segment at the end where you can ask any questions that you may have about this particular segment before we go into using the tool. So please make note of any questions, any comments that you want to make. This is an interactive session, so I'm going to be asking you guys questions. I am going to be asking you guys to give me your input. Feel free to unmute your mics or however it is that you want to interact with me. I do have presenter screen open, so I may not be able to see everybody immediately, but feel free to drop your emojis, drop your comments in the chat, what have you. We're here for a good time, not a long time. So let's ensure that we are all involved in the process. So let's get going. So whenever we think about design, a lot of times what happens is people go into the process thinking about doing as much as they can, right? You go in, and I'm sure you guys have seen the flyers, whether it's within Toastmasters, outside of Toastmasters, you may have seen some kind of design and you're like, I am not quite sure what is happening here. A lot of times that is because everybody tries to do too much in one simple piece of design. So one of the most important tips that I'm going to ask you to remember is that less is more. Whenever people are processing information, you would think that the more information that they have, the better it is. But the truth is that that is not the case. The more that's going on, the more things that are trying to get your audience's attention and attract their eyes, the more difficult it's going to be for them to focus on the things that are most important to you. So whenever you're in a situation where you're doing a design, any kind of design, whether it's PowerPoint to flyer to, you know, something for your WhatsApp group, less is always more. And I want to show you a quick example of this. So whenever we're doing a design, we are trying to achieve primarily a particular purpose. You know what it is that you're trying to communicate. Now, this is actually what you're seeing on your screen is a gorgeous example of simple being done right. We know what it is. We know when it's going to be. We know what's essentially what's going to be happening, and we have a point of contact for further information if it's necessary. Because it is art-based, you do have that free form abstract that's going around the edge that communicates the idea that it is artistic or related to art. There are many ways that something like this could have been communicated, but I think we can gather really how easy it is for us to bring across not only the feel of the event and the feel of what it is that we're trying to communicate, but ensuring that our audience gets what's the most important to them straight off the bat. Number two, this is a technical tip. Know the size of the design or the dimensions of the design that you're going to do. So when you start a project, sometimes you're thinking more about what it is that it's going to look like rather than what the final product is. But when it comes to design, sometimes it's really good for you to start with the end in mind, because the dimension of a piece of artwork determines how it is that it is going to be laid out. So if, let's say, for example, Toastmaster Joni is designing something for Instagram versus something that she can print, can she essentially do the same artwork in both dimensions? She can, but what you'll find is that when it's time to utilize it in the particular space, you're going to have things happening to the artwork. So Toastmaster Joni's talking about stretching. That is something that occurs as well. You have a situation where if you're using digital platforms, some platforms will actually reject particular sizes because they're too big or they're not optimized. So when we say look for dimensions, we are talking about knowing the final products that you want and how they're going to be used so that you can use that as the basis of setting up almost your canvas, right? If you wanted to put up a piece of artwork in your house, you would have to decide where it's going to go and how big the piece of artwork is going to be. And that is what we talk about when we're talking about dimensions. Now, it's not that you have to know all of your dimensions off of the top of your head. That is not, I don't even know all of the dimensions off the top of my head. But if you understand where you want to place your platforms, a simple Google search will bring you to artwork or imagery that is similar to what you see. So if it is that we were to use this example, the size that I would use for my profile image is not the same dimensions as my stories. It's not going to be the same dimension as my post images. In the same way, if I was going to be printing something, I could not use the dimensions from the profile image that you're seeing here, the sizing that you see on your screen for a profile image that for a flyer that maybe you want to print letter size. So I say all of this to say, make sure your foundation is secure, understand how it is that you want to use the piece of artwork that you are creating, and do a quick Google search so that you can find a size that is optimal for what it is that you need. You're going to see sometimes something called either aspect ratio or pixels. It's essentially, it's just technical references to the same thing. It's literally going to be length by width, or when we're talking about aspect ratio, we're talking about almost zoom. So I'm sure a lot of people here have used social or Instagram, and you're trying to do an upload and you find that maybe if you use a particular quote unquote aspect ratio, like I'm going to pull something from my head, like 16:2 or something like that, you're going to find that maybe it would have zoomed into a particular part of the image. And then when you change the aspect ratio, it goes further away until it fits the image to how it is that you want it to. Just a technical term, pixels are normally what is utilized in Canva. So as long as you do a quick search for what your pixels are, and that's your length by your width, then you'll understand what it is or the canvas that you need to lay out. 3, you need to stay organized. And this happens to absolutely everyone, right? You're putting together a piece of artwork, you're trying out different things, you've downloaded different images that you want to try out. You were trying to design a logo like Joni, and you decided, oh, let me try out different types of arrows. So you tried this arrow and that didn't work. So you tried another type of arrow and this kind of worked, but not quite. There are many things that go on when you're doing a design, different elements that are coming into play. You want to ensure that you give yourself the best chance of success by making sure that you're organized. Now, that might sound a little bit dramatic, but the fact is that when you're getting started, you can end up, if you are not organized, or if this is something that's super new to you, you can end up in a situation where you're working on one piece of artwork for hours, right? Because you're searching for different elements that maybe you had tried out before that you want to utilize again. And that image that you downloaded, you don't know where it is. Canva has great tools that you can utilize to bypass that. You have little folders and stuff that we will explore that you can use to either keep your elements separate, or if you're like Toastmaster Joni or anybody else here, you might be working on many different things at different times. You might be doing your personal work versus your Toastmaster stuff versus stuff that you do for work or stuff that you do for church. You can also utilize these little tools to keep yourself organized and prepared to make the most of the time that you're going to spend building out these pieces of artwork. So you have your main folders that you're going to see, and of course your little subfolders with your different types of elements and assets that you can utilize. One of the things that I love a whole lot about Canva, and I think you guys will end up loving it too, are templates. We are not all designers, as we know. I'm not a designer, I'm a digital marketer. God bless every single designer that works for me. They get paid a lot and they deserve a lot, right? It's a lot of work and artistic eye. But when you're in a bind and you can't find a designer, you can become your own designer by using templates. So Canva has a fantastic array of really, really good templates that you can utilize. And we're talking for almost anything that you can think of, from logos. I saw somebody mention in the responses that they want to know how to create a great PowerPoint. There's that there too. We're talking about, backgrounds for Zoom. Anything that you can think of, somebody has a Canva template for it. And the beautiful thing about templates is that you have a really good foundation that you can customize. So if you don't have a lot of time to move a lot of things around, if you find something that is visually appealing to you and meets your base requirements for whatever it is that you're trying to do, you can go in and make quick changes to your copy. And by copy, I just mean your text, your color scheme, or even your font layout, but you're not starting from scratch. Because starting from scratch can be not only overwhelming, but a little bit daunting as well. Because sometimes, because we're not so technically minded, we're not aware of how certain things work together. So having something that is pre-designed that you can pretty up and customize as you need it and make it as bespoke as you like is a really good aspect of Canva that I personally enjoy. In fact, this PowerPoint that you're seeing is actually a template that has been customized to do what we're doing here today. So I walk the walk and I talk the talk. I'm 100% for templates. 5, the psychology of color. So I'm going to ask you guys a really quick question, and you can unmute your mics, you can drop it in the chat. What do you think of when you see something that's blue? What do you think of? Or what feeling do you get? What feeling does blue, like a royal blue, give you? Go ahead and drop it in the chat. You can unmute your mics. I don't see my chat blowing up yet. Are we thinking of calm, nice? Yes. Peace. I see calm and the sky. Ambition. Interesting. So as you can see, and you guys can continue to put your thoughts in the chat, but as you can see, certain colors have certain connotations, right? And having an understanding of what some of these connotations are add impact to the what you are designing. Certain colors, as you can see, evoke particular feelings. They can evoke people starting to think along a particular line of thinking. You can even get people, as we saw one person say ambition, you can actually start putting your message in place before people even read anything that is in your artwork, right? And this is something that I want you guys to consider when you are designing, because color, good people, mean different things to different people. Different shades of color mean different things. And there are a couple of things here. So we had someone say, we can take a quick look at blue. Somebody said calm. That is a universal understanding of blue when it comes to positive connotations. We have somebody, clearly it says calm, it says serenity. There are different shades of the different colors that are there that can connotate different things. So a baby blue versus a royal blue. What does baby blue tell us or indicate for us? How does a baby blue or a pastel blue make us feel? You can drop it in the chat or unmute your mics. If Anna K had said royalty, go ahead. Okay, Anna K. Duke said calm. A baby blue, like a pastel blue. Think is somebody speaking? Okay, all right, so Anna K said calm. So let me raise you this. How many people here thought of a baby? Bright pastel, right? There's some shades. There you go, Nicole. Nicole was right there with me when you think of a child. Red has different connotations. So red, we love to use red, right? Because red catches our eye. But sometimes based on the shade of red that you use, or even how the red is used, it can either bring people's attention to something, or it can begin to connotate danger if you overuse it, right? So let's take a little bit of time outside of this training and kind of look around us and think about how color impacts the designs that we're creating as we move forward, right? Anybody can, what color do we like to use, guys, when we're designing? Joni, what's your default color that you like to use?
Blue.
Yeah, blue. Anybody? I see Nicole saying that she likes purple or lavender. All right, those colors connotate royalty as well, depending on the shade. So there are certain things that people are just attracted to, and it will catch people's attention, right? So the next time you're going to design something, maybe you can consider something else, maybe a different shade of green or pink or brown or orange. I've used, what we're seeing here in my background is a nice mixture of yellows and purples. So there are many different colors that you can use to have different connotations. And remember, so I brought out how it is that currently I'm using different colors together. We know from kindergarten, right? From the color wheel, do we remember, guys? How colors work together, primary colors and secondary colors, and what goes with what? When it comes to design, these things can go deep. And again, I would go back to point number 4, bless God for a good template, because somebody would have thought that's out for you. But considering how your colors work together also impact how good your design comes across. You want to consider your audience. You want to consider the feeling that you're trying to put across. You want to do your best to get a color combo that is representative of whatever it is that you're doing and is appealing to the audience. So I today have chosen a nice yellow, and my template has different colors, purples and yellows and oranges. But good people, I didn't choose this, right? My template provided this for me. And so somebody would have already thought ahead what shades of the different colors work together, right? Like you, not an artist. So whenever you're in a situation where you are not sure about what to utilize, there is a really cool tool that you can utilize in Canva that is called either a brand book, which will put together multiple colors for you, or they actually have a palette section that we're going to explore where you can, if you're not using a template and you want to design something from scratch, it will actually recommend colors that work together for you in your design. So we'll explore that, and that's going to be fantastic. Tip number 7. I spoke to Joni about this, and it is something that I find that I talk to a lot of different people about, and it's about visual hierarchy. Remember when we started off, we said that if you design something where there's a lot going on, you're pulling people's attention to many different things, right? The fact is that our brains, no matter how fast and fabulous they are, multitasking is not a genuine thing, right? Multitasking doesn't exist, guys. Multitasking is essentially being able to switch between tasks very quickly. And our brains are fantastic at that and give us the impression that we're doing multiple things at multiple times. But the fact is that our brains process things on a very linear basis. So in the same way that we want to ensure that we are designing for how people process the information that we want to put across, and how it is that you lay out particular bits of information and what elements are larger than and based on where they are placed, they, to the eye of the beholder, have different levels of importance, right? In agency, you hear about your headings, your subheadings, your icons and text, your footers, right? These different terminologies simply speak to the different sizes and the different utilizations of copy. So my headline or my title tends to be my attention grabber. Because it is large and it tends to be centrally placed, that is the first thing that I am going to look at as the viewer. And so I want to ensure that that has the base information or the most important information that is going to capture the attention of my audience, right? If I put a date there, it may not logically process to someone else to read more based on how it is that you utilize it. So what you find is that the safest thing to do is, based on the hierarchy of the information that you want to provide to your user, you're going to use the same visual hierarchy to match. So if we're trying to get our attention with what the training is, it is what? It's going to be, where is it going to be if we think that that is going to be the most important thing for our audience? Are we virtual or are we going to be in a physical space? When is that going to be, and what further details are going to follow? And what you'll find is that as you go smaller, right? And again, based on your placement as well, your viewer will follow your placement based on your sizing, and they will process the information as you want it laid out, right? So the next time you're designing something, a poster, a piece of artwork, always go back to asking yourself, what am I trying to communicate to my audience? What do I believe is most important for my audience? And then use a visual hierarchy in order to share this information in a way that is going to be the most easy for your audience to process. We all love fonts. We've seen we've seen people go wild with fonts. We've seen the stuff that you can barely see and the things that are standing out at you. We talked about visual hierarchy and the fact that, you know, the different sizes have a different impact on viewability or legibility and processing of the information. Your typography, or where as we commonly know it as, or fonts, also have an impact on how things come across. Not gonna get too much into the details of what is called, but what you'll find is that it's always best to use simple, tried and true fonts to get your information across. What you're going to find when you use Canva is that you have a really great tool in your text section of Canva that actually shows you fonts that work together. So we have our templates that may have predetermined fonts that are packaged for that template, but you can go one step further if you're starting from scratch, and you can look for what I call font pairings that make the most sense. Now, best practice when it comes to utilizing font is please don't use more than 2 or 3 different fonts from different font families. Why? Kind of looks amateur. It takes away from the messaging, because when things start getting all over the place, your mind is, when it's processing information, if you're switching things all the time, it makes it a little bit more difficult for your user to process the information that's there. But if you want a little bit of variety, you have font families. So a font family is essentially when you have different sizes and usages of a font with of a foundational font. So you find something like, oh my God, what do I use a lot? We can look at it in Canva, but what you'll essentially find is you'll find maybe Helvetica bold versus Helvetica italics versus Helvetica something else than the other. What it is a standard font that has a pre-treatment to give you the variety that you want. So sometimes people want to use italics instead of picking up something that may be from a different font family that looks like cursive. You can search within your font family for something that works and gives you the feel that you want. And if it is that you cannot find that, then the next best step is to look for a font that is complementary to what it is that you're using as your primary font. On your screen, you will see some recommendations of what you can use for headers and how it is that you can kind of see how almost a different connotation that comes across. What you'll find, guys, is when it comes to design, we'll talk a little bit about how things feel, even though we're looking at something that is technical and design, because the fact is that we as the audience, as we are digesting whatever it is that is put across to us, it's not only about what's written there, but it's how it looks as well. So you'll find that there are certain things that, based on the font that you utilize, may feel a little bit more professional versus a font that you'd use for a baby shower that may be a little bit more playful and a little bit more unstructured then as a font. So that is a consideration that you really want to bring to the forefront. Using white space. How many of us have seen artwork where everything is everywhere? Or you created a piece of artwork and it's complete, and maybe you share it with somebody and they say to you, no man, put something else in there. The something else doesn't add any value to the artwork. The something else does not add value to the audience that's reading. The something else that is being added does not add to what is being communicated. I'm sorry if I stepped on your toe, if this is you that I'm talking about, but that's why you're here. When you learn better, you do better. Joni, you just pointed at yourself. That's okay. That's why we're here, right? Remember how we said less is more? Less is more. And this backs it up as well. So the idea is, just because a piece of artwork is not chock full of elements or chock full of many different things going on, it doesn't mean that it's not effective. A lot of times, in order for people to even appreciate what you're putting forward, sometimes the artwork needs space to breathe. And that's it. And when we say breathe, it means it has like space around it. It's not hitched up to something else. It's not it's not competing with another element. It's there by itself so that you can appreciate the value that it adds to the artwork. It's not empty space. It's not dead space. It's not, oh my God, put another element space. It is a space that we can appreciate what is there so that our brains can process the information that's there. So there's a fantastic example of what I mean on your screen at the moment, right? To our left, we have what people like to do when they're creating artwork. We're trying to give our audience as much information as possible. No, we don't need to give everyone everything at one time. And so again, it is important for us to always be thinking, what does my audience need and what do I want to communicate? Prioritize that, and then utilize the artwork and give it space to breathe so that the information is easily processed. How many people even bothered to read the thing on the left? Well, my left in white. Let's be honest. No, it's overwhelming. And sometimes we don't even recognize that we are overwhelming our audience or that we ourselves are overwhelmed until we see it cleared out. So if it is that you glance at something and immediately you're like, I'm not trying to work to read this, it's time for you to take a step back, go back to basics, and pull out what you need and give the information space to breathe. Breathing needs space. We talked about giving it space, and this is just a reiteration of that. Having space or a good use of space is a really important tool when we talk about balance. So if we look at even the screen that is currently in front of you, I have used space and I've used elements to pull your eyes and your attention to the things that are most important for you. So even if you are listening to me right now and you're not going to bother to read anything there, I'm almost sure every single person here has read the information that is to the left in the element on the left in the circle. Am I a genius or a genie? No. What I've done is I have prioritized what it is that I want you guys to walk away with when you glance at my screen. And I have used my elements and I've used my space to bring your attention to what I feel is most important. This is a really good design or an idea of how it is that we utilize space. So what you're gonna see, by the way, guys, is what you're seeing on the screen now. The grids that you see there are not a part of the actual design, but it's a nice little tool that you can utilize when it comes to creating balance, right? So there is this idea of the rule of thirds, and we're not going to get into that too much, but the idea is that you kind of want to think about your design in almost like grids. And so you can use the grid to see how things are lined up. The mind loves balance, right? Things are beautiful to us when they are balanced or as aesthetically pleasing as possible. So what the grid allows us to do is to kind of work from a place of balance. So is my design on the left, is it too far to the left? Do I need to shift it over to the right a little bit more to ensure that we're achieving balance there? Do I have enough space between my logo at the top and the text at the bottom? Do I need to have that breathe? Do I have space to let it breathe some more? Is it too close to the border? You know, there are a lot of things, a lot of little tools that you can utilize to help with your composition. You don't have to pressure yourselves right now, not expecting magic, right? But it's one of the things that you can consider when it is that you are doing your design. Readability, legibility. You are creating artwork for one primary reason. We're not Picasso here, right? Most of the things that we're doing, we are using it to communicate particular pieces of information. And there is no point of having artwork or doing any kind of design if the person you're trying to communicate with is unable to understand what it is that you're communicating, right? We talked about usage of font. This is also usage of font size, right? And all of some of the other elements are roped into the idea of readability as well. So outside of that, it's also how is my font playing against my background? Now, if we were to think about the slide that is currently in front of you, if the text that was there was yellow, what would that do for readability? It would immediately drop, right? The yellow might look gorgeous. I have yellow in my palette, but if I have yellow in my palette and I'm using it in a way that doesn't allow my audience to get what it is that they are from the design that I've done, then I would not have achieved my primary design purpose, which is communicating something to you. So let's always ensure that our font is right, our space is good, and our primary goal of creating the artwork is achieved through the achievement of readability. And last, but certainly not least, we talked about starting with the end in mind, 100%. So again, based on your usage of the artwork, that is going to determine what it is or what format it is that you're going to download it in. So if I was sharing this particular presentation, I would have options, right? I could give it to Toastmaster Joni as a video. If it is that it's going to be hosted on a video platform and it's something that's going to be running in a background, great. But if it's something that I want you guys to be able to flip through but not edit, then perhaps a PDF would be more suitable to pull this particular presentation. All of this is simply saying, remember what your usage is and identify the file format that makes the most sense for that use purpose. Just because it looks cute, just because it is what somebody else is utilizing, doesn't mean it's what's ideal for you in this particular use case for that particular file, right? Let me use another quick example. If you are going to be sharing a piece of artwork that you've done in your WhatsApp group, can somebody drop in the chat and tell me what format do you think you'd be utilizing for a WhatsApp group? All right, very good. CMOL, Copeland, PNG, or JPEG. Can you guys tell me why? Why would we choose to use PNG or JPEG? Because the truth is that I could also download a PDF, right? But if I'm trying to drop it in my group chat so that somebody can see my flyer, why would I not do PDF? Why would I choose a PNG?
I have a practical one, and I'm hoping Toastmaster Nicole is here. She did the agenda using that format. What came up on WhatsApp was just the words PDF. It had the rest of the details, but like you just explained, and now I understand why I paid it no never mind and didn't even look at it until she brought it to my mind's attention. That no, that was how we share the agenda, because I'm used to seeing the picture of it. So not seeing the picture, I didn't even bother to register that there are words there. And that is why the format matters.
There you go. So that is a very, very good example of why understanding the usage format is important. So in a WhatsApp group, a PNG or a JPEG, good people, is an image file. And so what's going to happen is it's going to save whatever artwork you have as an image. And that is best used in situations where people are expecting images or the platform is designed for images. You can't use an image, you can't use not a JPEG, forgive me. You can't use a PDF, sorry, on Instagram. So if you're doing a piece of artwork for your club or for your church meeting and it's supposed to be on your social media and you download a PDF, that makes no sense, right? In Joni's case, what issue that existed there was that there was a predetermined expectation of her as the audience member on what she wants to receive and how she wants to receive the information. So it's not that the information wasn't shared, it was. But because it doesn't match her expectation, she didn't even bother to pay it attention. And sometimes what you can even find is you can even have an issue where people ignore it. Because if I was to share an email with a link, because I could share a link to this presentation right now, if all of you are not expecting to receive a link, why your first thought is, why would Rachel send a link for something that normally comes as maybe a PDF document, right? So these seem like very small considerations, but they do have a major impact on how it is or how effective your communication is. Because at the end of the day, the whole purpose of you using this tool is to boost the effectiveness of the communication that you're trying to put out there, right? So now that we have essentially walked away with 13 tips, 13 points of consideration that before you raise your fingers to even look at Canva, now is the time for us. I'm going to put 2 minutes on the clock for a quick Q&A. And if it is that you are just joining us, make sure that you've opened up your Canva on whatever device it is that you are using right this minute as we go into our exploration of Canva for the next 20 or so minutes before it's your turn to dance in the dance. So 2 minutes on the clock. So if you have a question, now is the time. The floor is yours. You can go ahead and raise your hands.
Hi, Rachel. Sorry, I didn't raise my hand. I already had my mic out. I missed
No problem.
11.
Sorry, you missed tip 11?
11, yeah.
Okay, so tip 11. Oh, look at that. I just numbered it badly. Tip 11 would have been make good use of space. So I actually went from 10 to 12 to 13. It's actually 12 tips. Thank you for noticing that.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
No problem. No problem. All right. Any more questions, guys? Now is the time because we're about to start taking a look at Canva.
Is it better to use Canva on my cell phone or on my tablet or my laptop?
Frankly, what you're going to find is you have different access to different functionalities. They try to give you as much as you can across all platforms. I use it on my phone. I use it on my laptop. My thought is if you're doing a quick edit, feel free to jump on your phone. You're able, as long as you're good with manipulating your phone, you shouldn't have a major issue. But I would prefer if you're doing something from scratch or you're fresh in the game and you need a little bit more attention to detail, go ahead and use your laptop. The larger screen, more than anything, is easier for you to pick up on the little things that you may miss on the mobile screen. Because no matter how much you zoom, when it comes to mobile, you're still, because of how limited the screen space is, it's still gonna be, you might not get optimum balance or usage of the tools there. But your tablet should be good, or your laptop should be good. I find that all of them work well across all the platforms. But my personal preference is to use my laptop if I'm not under pressure.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
All right, so a question was posted while you were speaking, the font family, which also fascinated me. I see that you had some fonts there on one of your slides. How do we know what's a font family? Is it that we have to Google it, or will we know in time? How do we know what font families are?
All right, well, the beautiful thing about Canva and a lot of the other tools is that you'd be able to kind of see them placed together. So, all right, maybe based to answer that question, it would probably be best for us to start doing a little walkthrough. You can Google it, feel free, right? But what you'll find is most of your tools, whether it's Google Sheets or Word or whatever, you'll find that it will have the primary font and then it will give you like a secondary name to the font. So let me see if I can pull up an example here. If I was to go into my text, right? You will literally see something like, hold on. I gotta click on this. All right, so here we'll have something called, I'm gonna share my screen. Again, really quickly. Are we seeing my screen? Yes? No?
Yes, I can.
All right, great. So when I click on my font and I do my click down here, you notice that I have Acherus Grotesque Light, Acherus Militant Light, Acherus Light. So that's what you'd refer to as a font family. Or if we look at this one here, a Grandeur Black, a Grandeur Grand, a Grandeur Grand Black. So this is what you would consider a font family, because essentially a Grandeur is the primary font, and then these are just variations that you can utilize for different things. So let's say if I had one piece of artwork that I was working on, and I'm trying to create some variety in the way the artwork looks, then what I would do is I would potentially turn my header. Oh my God, am I going to change my artwork? All right, let's do this for you guys. All right, so let's look at this piece of artwork that I have here. If I was to go ahead and use a Grandeur for this, what I would probably do is I would put my heading in a Grandeur Grand Black. I want to give some variety. So I'm going to put maybe another heading that I have in a Grandeur Grand Medium. And then for the subtext that is least important, and maybe I don't need it to have as much attention, I could use a Grandeur Thin. Right? So what happens is you end up having this a similar feel, but then you get that variety that you would want, which is why a lot of people tend to use different fonts at different times. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. All right. The person who asked the question, did I answer your question? Is there anything that you want me to clarify about there? All right, I guess not. I think we're good to go. So let's go ahead and get into Canva.
May I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
On my tablet now, I'm just seeing Rachel has started screen sharing.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not seeing anything else. I'm not seeing what you're doing. I don't know if it is my
yeah, it's just your device.
It's just my device?
Yes.
All right, so I'll have to log out and log back in. Okay.
Right. All right, guys. So let's take a deep dive and take a look at what our Canva layout looks like. So in order to get to Canva, of course, we know that we'd go to canva.com, we'd do our login. The assumption right now is that you guys would have already created some kind of login, right? So you should be here. This is going to be what we refer to as your home screen. So to my left, you have your, I'm gonna call it like your menu options, right? It's gonna show you what account you're in because you can have multiple accounts, the type of account that you have, free. And by the way, guys, I will be using the free account. I know that there are some people here who have premium accounts. I use a premium account sometimes, but the free version is still just as good. You don't need to shell out those coins unless you are ready to invest in accessing some of the additional things. But when you are in free, good people of the world, what you're going to notice is you have some crowns that are going to pop up in and around the different aspects or the different menus that you interact with. And all those crowns mean is that this particular feature is a premium feature, right? There are some cases where you'll be allowed to access the element or access some aspect of the tool, but what you may find is that it might be watermarked. How many people have done something and you find that there's a Canva watermark in the background? A video, an image, whatever it is. As long as you use a premium element, it will allow you, it might allow you to use it, but it is going to watermark it. If you want to unlock it, you can actually buy it. And depending on how important the thing is to you, you'll find that some of the premium features are quite affordable. $1 for an element here. So it's pretty much based on how much you want to invest in what it is that you're designing. To my left or left-hand menu, we have our home screen, which is what we are currently on. We have our templates that if you click through and you toggle through, let's hope my internet doesn't embarrass me. You have an opportunity to go into an entire template section here. There is a shortcut to this from the home screen that we'll look at. You can see it over here and you can do a quick search over here. We have projects, which is essentially where we can find our folders or our designs or images. Remember, we talked about organization. This is where some of the organizational aspects come in, where I can actually create special folders for my projects for particular designs, images, videos. This is automatically done, this one up here, but I can actually go ahead and create my own based on what is important to me. And you can do that too. And we'll look at how you can do that a little bit later on, right? But it's always pretty simple and straightforward. We have our team information here. If it is that you had additional people on your team, you could actually click through to see what's going on for that. Remember how I talked about there being little tools that you can utilize for managing your color palette and making your life easier? You have your brand kit and your brand templates that you can actually utilize, but this is a premium offering. So if it is that you have, let's say, for example, you maybe do a lot of work for Toastmasters, you can actually upload some of your logos, some of your color schemes and stuff like that, and the software will auto prepare some templates for you and create a brand kit for you, so that what you do is you don't have to remember everything off the top of your head. You can actually reference some of the, you can quickly pull your fonts and the necessaries that are associated with that particular brand. As a digital marketer, what you find is that you may manage multiple brands that have different color palettes and different feels. You can actually manage that by creating brand kits for each one. Canva has a really cool integration for those of you who are interested in syncing up your Canva to your social. It actually allows you to schedule out your content. So prior to this, what would happen is you'd have to have a third-party application if you are creating social media artwork or artwork that's being released in digital, where you would create your Canva artwork, you would download it, and then you would export it and upload it into a different piece of software. What Canva has done beautifully is they have included that now in their kind of offering pack. So if it is that you are in a situation where you need to connect your socials and put out content, you can also create it and do it through this here. There's some apps and some smart mockups. We're not going to spend a lot of time on, we're not going to spend any time on those at all. You can explore that when you have a little bit of time. There are tons of tools, guys, that I will not be able to talk to here. I want you to always, always remember that whatever we walk through here is just the tip of the iceberg. Canva, always learn by doing. So always, always take the time and play around with the software, right? So we talked about being able to create your designs. Your designs can be created on multiple levels. You can, if you look top right over here, you have the option of just clicking through create a design, and it will give you the option of scrolling through the bevy of templates that are available based on use cases. So if I wanted an Instagram post or something for Instagram, it actually has not only preset posts for particular dimensions, but it also has, in some cases, cute little more thematic options or thematic templates that you can utilize. You can always hop over here as well and do a search for what it is that you are looking for. So for example, with our friend here that was looking for a PowerPoint template, I could simply type PowerPoint. Oops. I think the better word to use here would be slides. And it will give me options that I can search using, right? If it is that maybe I want to search based on a thematic basis, so let's say pineapples. I am having a pineapple themed party. I can actually search. Ooh, it's not giving me anything for pineapple. Canva, don't love this for me. There we go. We can actually find templates that have whatever it is that the pineapple theme, and then I can actually click through and look at and utilize the one that makes the most sense for me. So what I want to bring your attention to is once I pull something up, I actually have some additional options that will pop up. I will have an addition, you notice the menu to your left would have disappeared and changed a little bit, because I have searched on a thematic basis and it's very general. What it's going to give me over here is the opportunity to kind of filter and drill down to whatever it is that I am interested in. So whether it is based on my dimensions, Facebook, what have you, maybe a style that I'm into, maybe I want something a little bit more modern, I can toggle based on that and filter based on that, or even food, restaurant, and tons of other filters to our left. All right, so I see Vinette Allen, you can go ahead and unmute your mic and ask your question as we explore the rest of the thing.
You're saying that for PowerPoint, I could do a PowerPoint presentation from Canva?
Absolutely, you just witnessed a PowerPoint presentation from Canva.
Okay.
Right, so, and I can show that to you in my projects, but what I'm gonna do is let me do a quick walkthrough of the different functionalities and where you can find them. And then we can actually look at some of the stuff that you can do. But 150 million%, you can not only create your slides in Canva, but you can also present like I just did from Canva itself. All right. So we have our options here. It will always recommend different things that you want to try, and sometimes the recommendations are based on what it is that you've used before. What I want to bring your attention to, guys, is that Canva, you don't need to depend on somebody like me in order to wait to learn different things about Canva. You actually have a whole segments designed to teach you about the different aspects of Canva. You'll find them under education, you'll find them under business, where they've grouped usage based on use cases, the features, even by industry, right? Best practices. You'll find information about templates that you can utilize. You'll find videos about how it is that you can access some of the functionalities that I may or may not mention here. So feel free to play around. If you toggle over to the top of your screen, top left, as you can see, once you toggle over these options, it will open up a lot more information that you can utilize outside of this, right? And we have some quick access basics from their Canva design school that are here. How it is that you use the collaboration feature, because you can, guys, actually work on designs together with different people by sharing the file with them. As long as they have Canva, you can invite them to work on stuff together with you. And I'll show you quickly how to do that a little bit further down, but there's so many things that you can actually play around with to learn from. Once you scroll down in your home screen, what you're gonna find is your recent designs. So these are some of the things that I have worked on recently. Love this because I don't have to search for it. Yes, my projects are there. Yes, I can access different files in different ways, but there's really nothing like simply scrolling down to find the last thing that I opened up, clicked on, edited. It will be right here for me to access. And as I scroll, you will find that it will actually list it based on the last time that I accessed it and the last time you accessed it. So once you click on something and you've opened it up, you're good to go. You'll find it in your recent designs. You have an option of editing the name of your files. And again, guys, very intuitive. So this is a file here that I just presented for you guys. You notice that it's been tagged as a presentation. It's actually in my presentation folder, why it's grayed here. To my top left, once I click on that, it will give me the option of I can edit the name of the file. So this session is called Canva. Create your canvas with Canva.
Make Canva your canvas. There we go.
Yeah, sorry, map.
There we go.
Your
Fine.
canvas, right? I can go ahead and make any change that I want to make. I can go ahead and present full screen because this was a presentation. So that would be interesting to you, Vinit. There are other ways of accessing that as well. But what this toggle does is it just opens up additional options for you. So let's say, for example, when it comes to making a copy, let's say I wanted to keep absolutely almost everything that I wanted from this presentation. I don't have to, because the way Canva works is when I go into a file and I make an edit, the edit is immediately saved. I don't have to actively save it, right? But what if I have a situation where I want to keep a copy of my file and have access to that, but I want to make some edits? A simple fix to that would be for me to make a copy of the file. This would be a brand new document that I can edit as much as I want, and then I can save that as a separate file, right? So these are some of the stuff that you can access. I can move this file to a folder if it wasn't saved in a folder. Once I've created one, I can go ahead and download it in whatever format that I want if I wanted to share. I also have this share button. Remember how I talked about us being able to work on multiple files together? By clicking on this share button, what's going to happen is I'm going to have the option of either sharing a link or putting in an email address that I can share with Vinette, or I can share with Paul or Helen, and they have access, and I can determine the amount of access that they have. And these things are useful in little situations, like perhaps I'm doing some work for Helen and she needs to approve my artwork. Instead of me having to actively download the tool every single time, I can literally give her a link and she can watch as I make the edits. Johnny, go ahead.
I want to know, you said my favorite phrase, folder. As you know, Google document person, because it's easy to create the folders and put things in the place to be easy. So I heard you say folder. How do I folder? Okay,
all right. Let's get into where we haven't gotten there yet, Jody. But I don't want to hop ahead just yet. I kind of want to work through the elements, and then we're going to hop into the fun stuff, guys. I know these are the basic things and you want the excitement, but let's get through the foundational and then we'll hop to the excitement, all right? But actually, just a quick thing here. So what you'll notice is that what I would have done, guys, is I would have clicked through on a piece of artwork. But let's, in fact, let me not click through on a piece of artwork first. Let's start from scratch. So if I was going to create a piece of artwork, as I said, you have multiple options of creating it. So once I create on something that I want, and I select something that I want to get started with, what happens is I open up a brand new, pretty much a brand new page, right? What it's going to do is I'm going to have access now to additional menu options because it essentially has said that I'm ready to start designing. So I would have selected, as hopefully you were paying attention, I selected a Facebook post. Because I selected a Facebook post, it actually auto selects the dimension that I needed. Remember, we talked about that being the base of everything that you did. It would have auto selected a layout for me here, which is correctly sized to what I need it for. We have over here our menu options to our left, which will give us a lot more stuff that we can work with. So we have our templates and we can see that there are options here that are popping up for me. We have our elements, which is essentially where we're gonna find some of our graphics or lines or anything that you can think of that you'd want to put in as an individual piece of artwork, you'll find in our elements tab. We have our uploads here, and this is where we are able to put in files from our desktop and from third-party applications and from different places that we want to utilize. On the uploads, it actually categorizes. So Canva is great because you can do actually more than create a still. You can create videos, you can create GIFs, you can create, audio overlays over artwork. So anything that you are uploading, you'll be able to, once you have uploaded it, you'll find it in your uploads and it will actually categorize it based on the fonts that you're utilizing. You'll see that you're able to drag media from different applications. We have our Google folder here, Facebook, Instagram. So there are a lot of fun stuff that you can do. And if it is that perhaps you're going to do your own presentation, you have the option to actually click record and do your video or whatever it is and have it immediately accessible by Canva so you can do your edits in the tool itself. Really, really great tool. We have our tools. Remember, we talked about our fonts and our font families and our complementary fonts. The thing that I really love about Canva is that it pretty much makes it intuitive. So remember, we talked about visual hierarchy. You don't necessarily have to remember. You don't have to remember the sizing then. As long as we know what's important, we can actually use our headings or subheadings and our body copy tabs in order for it to auto-populate for us, whatever font it is that we want. And once something drops in the document, you are now able to interact with it and kind of mess around with it and move it around as you need it to by using our menu options that are up here at the top. And there are tons of stuff that you can do. This is where if you're to click on your top right, you have the option of, this is where you're finding the fonts that you can utilize and play around with to change whatever it is. You can alter your font size. You can change your font color and your actual brand kit will pop up. There's a cool little tool here, but it's premium. You can actually create your own color palette. So for example, when I was doing Toastmasters, all I had to do was insert the Toastmasters palette here, and I was able to automatically select and pull whatever it is that I want. I have also the option of a brand kit that we had mentioned before, where the colors, once you put your colors in place, you're able to sort of have those colors preset and waiting for you to utilize. If you look up here, you will see the option of actually putting in information. I know a lot of you may not have interacted with the idea of color codes, but every single color comes with a particular code. So if you are searching for a generic color like a red, you can type in red and it will pull the red options for you. But if, for example, you are trying to abide by a particular brand essence, some of those colors are predetermined and have particular codes. So you can actually type in your code here in order to find the colors that you are looking for. All right, if you want to add a new color up here, this is a cool tool that I think everybody will love. How many people have been in a situation, let's say that you have an image, you have something and you want to match the color from something that you had before, right? I have the option, hold on, let me put in some text here. Let's say I wanted to make the font color here, because my heading is still here, my font is still here, however, it's matching back with black. Let's say I wanted to pull the color from her shirt in order to give it some cohesiveness in the artwork. I could actually click on my font, click on my color, click on add a new color, and I can use the teardropper and scroll over the part of her shirt that I want to pick the color from, click it, and it will give me the color. All right? Isn't that cool?
Please repeat. Go back over that.
Okay, all right. So once you have a piece of text, right? And you want to pull, let me use another example. I'm going to use a different color here. Let's say I want to amplify my artwork or give it some cohesiveness by using some color from the image that is there to use that color for my text. Instead of me just going here and saying, okay, I want to make it blue, or I can make it this color. I want cohesiveness, right? So I have two options. I can use what is called the teardropper option, which is, we start from scratch. This is our heading, right? This is what we want to change. Changing this. This is what we want to change, right? I'm going to make sure I've selected the text that I want to change. I'm going to click on text color. And when I click on text color, it's going to open up my menu to my left. I'm just going to go over here to add a new color, click on that, and then I'm going to look for the teardropper. Once I click on the teardropper, it will allow me to pick up any color that is in the artwork and utilize it. So let's say I wanted to pull a color from her dress, sort of one of these colors here. You notice how it has gone over the dress and it's pulling the different shades from her dress?
Yes.
Right. Yes. We're going to click on that because that is the section that we want the color from. It will actually give us like a array of the colors that are in that dress that I can actually utilize as my font color. See? So when I'm over here to my left, I'm actually clicking on different shades within a particular palette.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Another fun tool that you can utilize to achieve a similar purpose, but with a little bit more of a limited amount of options being put forward, is you can actually just scroll down in that same menu. We were here in our text color. If you scroll down, you see this photo color option that has popped up here because there's a photo in the image. I can actually just, it's pre-selecting the colors that are the most standout from the image that I can utilize as my text. Don't panic if you haven't gotten it, guys. This is just one cool thing that you can practice with once we leave here. But that's one of the things that I think a lot of people struggle with when it comes to maintaining a consistent palette. It's how do I make it so that the imagery and the text and the color scheme is cohesive? Those are some of the tools that are available through Canva. All right, so let's continue. We're still just in our text tab. guys. We haven't gone anywhere else. Remember, if you look over here to our left, you can see where you are at. So we're still in text, right? We were just over here playing with some of the fonts that would have dropped in. So if we're to go ahead and scroll a little bit further down. So, all right, let's say we've made this our headline, right? Because this is the most important thing that we want people to see. All right, so what is the problem with this, good people? Quickly.
Won't be able
Can't
to
see it.
All right. Legibility would be an issue here, right? So we can actually go through and we can play around and see what makes the most sense. If it's a situation where maybe text on this background doesn't make sense, we can actually just click on the image, get rid of it, and we try something else. Because what happens is just because you like an image, it doesn't mean it works, right? So maybe I need to do that again. I see Joni, you look a little bit, let me do that for you again. All right, so I quickly, I had an image previously.
Where do you get the images?
So you have options. So we are currently, in order for me to access the image that you're seeing here, we're currently in my uploads tab. So all of these images I added
Okay.
to the software. But if it is that you do not have images, there is another tab just for you. There is the photos tab here, but we haven't reached there yet, right? So I'm just, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna show you guys really quickly how it is that I made the decision. So we said that based on what is currently here, this is not legible, right? This is not a good piece of, this wouldn't be a good piece of artwork because you can't see the text that's there. Picture is pretty, but we have something we want to communicate, right? So maybe this is just not the right image for whatever it is that we want to do. So what we can do is we could have an option where we could move it if we feel like it would be better to put the text here. All I did was I double clicked the image. The image, as you can see, is actually bigger than the dimensions that are there. So once you double click on the image, you have the option of moving it based on the sizing that's there, right? But we've agreed that this is not the best image because what? It doesn't give me a lot of working room for the text that's important to me. So I said I'm going to get rid of the image that's in the background. So I click on the image. You notice a little garbage bin popped up. I could click on delete, or I could just click delete on my keyboard and it would go away. But I want to put an image back, right? So what I'm going to do is, when you're working on a design, what you're going to find is that you can actually toggle through the different menu things without altering what's going on your screen here to the right, right? And you know what? I'm going to pause here and I'm actually going to bring forward the activity because I think what we need to do is we need to be working on something together. I was going to give you guys an activity after the fact, but I think what you're going to find is working on the activity while we're talking through this is going to make things easier for you rather than listening to me. So I have a preset activity here for you guys. I'm going to quickly reshare my screen. We're still seeing my screen, right?
Yes, we are.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so I have a quick activity for you guys. So what you're going to do for me is you're going to choose one of these exercises that I have here.
Muna house light on. Muna house light on.
Toastmaster Ezra, please mute your mic. Thank you so much. All right, so still seeing my screen, right? Let me go ahead and show that to you quickly. So what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to pick one of these activities. And what you're going to do is as I'm speaking to you about the activity, you're going to be working on a piece of artwork, right? So there are 3 options here that you can give a shot. You have 1, you're a guest speaker at your Toastmasters Club and you want to highlight this on social media. So what you're going to do for me is you're going to create a social media ready flyer for yourself. That's option A. Option B is you are trying to do a design for your child's birthday party. Whether the child is 6 or 7, it doesn't matter. But your job for option B is to create an invite for their friends. And I'm going to go as far as to say that this invite is going to be printed. You can decide what size it's going to be printed in, but it's going to be a printed design so that you can send with your child to school so that they can give to their friends. Option C is you are going to be me. You are going to design a presentation for whatever your topic is, but you're going to design the presentation cover page. And this is something that you're going to be presenting as a PowerPoint presentation. All right, so those are the 3 options that you have. Please, I'm going to give you 1 minute to make note of the option that you will be working on as we go through the rest of this session and the details of it. Remember, I'm not tied to any details. Whatever copy you want to use, whatever image, whatever you want to do, you can. But go ahead and either do a screenshot. I can also drop it in the chat, but pick an option and we're going to get to work. All right, so I'm going to ask you guys to give me a really quick thumbs up when everybody's ready to move on. So 1 minute for you to make note of which option you're going to choose and work on with your design, and then we'll continue with our walkthrough. So as soon as you've picked your option, go ahead and give me a thumbs up, or you can drop it in the chat. Okay. All right, thumbs. I see some thumbs, but not enough thumbs. Perla, Glenicia, Janice, Jerry, Sandra. What's going on? I see Paul Coleman giving me an actual thumb. Thank you, Paul. Okay, all right. Nice, 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 nice. All right. So our options are chosen. So option A, anybody who chose option A, unmute your mic for me quickly and tell me, what are you choosing? Where are we going first? What dimensions are you choosing? Anyone?
All right, for me, I'd like to do Facebook.
Okay. All right, so what are we going to do when it comes to that? Where are we going to choose our dimensions, Vinette? Pressure? Soup? Pressure? All right, okay, all right.
Templates.
Uh-huh.
Yes, and then I'm going to find, hold on there. No, that wasn't what you said earlier.
All right, so remember.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so in this case, let me minimize this. What I want you to remember is that there are multiple ways of accessing your files, right? So everybody should be with me here right now because this applies to everybody. Depending on the option that you've chosen, you're going to run, and the first thing you're going to do is pick the dimensions that are right for you. Like Vinette says, Vinette has identified that it's Facebook that she wants, but somebody could have chosen Instagram, somebody could have chosen LinkedIn, whatever the situation is. We can do a multi-search. We could go ahead and do a custom size here or type in the size that we want. If it is that it was a custom size, we don't really have to worry about that. Because Vinette says she wants Facebook, you know what we're gonna do? We're literally gonna type in Facebook. And what that's going to do for us, it's going to give us template options here, right? Hold on, let me I'm gonna create a design. I'm gonna type here, Facebook. And there we go. These are all of our Facebook size options, because we want to do a Facebook post, right, Vinette? Correct, Vinette? We're doing a
Yes.
Facebook post.
We
So
do a-
all we're gonna do is we're going to look for the thing that closest matches what it is that we want, and we're gonna go ahead and click on it. So you, Vinette, would have clicked on Facebook post. If you're doing Instagram stories or whatever, you would have selected that. If it's our birthday people and we're doing a printed document, this is going to be a little bit different, because what we are going to do if we're doing a dimensional search, what we would probably look for is a letter size, right? Let's say we're doing a one pager to the children. We can actually search by the name of the type of the size of document that we want. So we could have done letterhead. For something like a birthday card though, I would probably search more thematically, because what it will do is it will give you a lot more options when it comes to size, because a birthday card is not necessarily something as standardized as a social media post, right? So maybe I want a little bit more inspiration with my options. So what I could do is I can type birthday. And what it will do is it's going to give me options. So like birthday invitation. Once I click on that, come on, 26,000 template options that I can utilize, versus me trying to understand if I want to do a letter size, right? If it is that I want to do invitations that are for a particular thing, and we said that, or invitations are flyers or for printing, then we can literally go through and filter based on that. So let's say we want a flyer. When we say portrait, guys, portrait means, I want you to think of, portrait means kind of vertical is what I would say, right? So think of an old school portrait where you're upright. If we're thinking about landscape, literally think about the terminology landscape. When you're looking at landscape, it's more wide than high, right? So we can go ahead over here and we can toggle based on what it is that we want, based on style, based on category, based on theme, based on price, based on color. All of that can happen. For our presentation cover people, what kind of search do you think you're going to be doing for? Remember, we said it's a presentation. You're going to be doing it online. What am I searching for? Anybody?
Slides.
Excellent, right? So we can go ahead and type in slides. And what it's going to do for us is it's going to select and show me all of the options. As we can see here, 8,500 template options, right? So you're gonna go ahead, guys, you have 10 seconds. Well, 10 seconds is a little bit, but go ahead and pick something quickly that falls into your category, and you're gonna go ahead and open up a brand new project. All you have to do is, once you pick something that you like, you just double click on it and it will take you and open up a brand new window. All right, so I'm actually gonna put 30 seconds on my clock for that. We are now at 1 hour and 25 minutes. So let's go ahead and open up a brand new project. Thumbs up me when our projects are open.
This is Veronica. Can I ask a question? Hello?
You can go ahead, Veronica.
Oh, okay. So are we doing that project on the device that we're on? Because I'm not sure. I have my iPad with me right now. I'm viewing the presentation. However, I can't do much on my iPad and watching what the presenter is showing. I'm doing. I have my computer that I'm doing whatever she's, because I'm a visual person. So I'm just doing as she go along. So I'm doing it on the computer. Okay,
I see that you are muted or trainer. It's okay. I do it to myself all the time. And
Okay.
yes, that is actually the intention. That's basically what all of us are doing. We are on another device,
Okay.
making sure that we point and click and touch and feel, because that's
Okay.
why it's a practical guide.
Right. Right.
Right. So
Okay.
no problem at all. You can just go ahead and use the device that makes the
Okay,
most
so
sense for
for
you at the moment.
option A, we do Facebook posts.
You can choose any kind of social media post. You decide. But it must be something that is social media ready. All right. So our presentations should be open. Right. I'm going to go ahead. Which one should I do with you guys? Let's do our guest speaker for social. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and design something brand new. So we're gonna do an Instagram post portrait. And what do I like? If this, I normally take a lot more time with doing this, but here we go. This is something that I would think that is close to whatever it is that I want. If I'm a guest speaker, we have a lineup here. So I went ahead and I clicked on this option here, and it is free, right? Here we go. All right, so we have our brand new piece of artwork that is open, right? We talked about some of the things that are there before. Our menu to our left has all of our options on our elements, our templates, our elements, our uploads, or text, where it is that we find our photos. We have our style option here, which is the color palettes that I had spoken to you guys about. And we have our video option if it is that we wanted to put some video in our background. Joni, let me answer your question before I move on any further. You asked about the creation of folders. So you'll have an option there called folders when you scroll down to your left. All you're gonna do is click on folders and click on create folder, and it will allow you to rename it anything that you like. And from the folder is created, then you're able to drop in your artwork as we work. All right, so here we are. We're creating some guest speaker artwork. I want to ensure that I can see everything that's going on. So I normally try to make it a little bit bigger by going down here. As long as you're in the screen, once you toggle down here, you're able to increase and decrease and kind of mess with the size of the artwork as you need it so that you can see it properly. As you can see, as I hover over different aspects, you'll see them lighting up. That means there are individual elements. And once it lights up, it means I can do anything with it. I can get rid of it, I can edit it, I can delete it, I can replace it with something else, right? So let's talk through our webinar. So let's say it's not a webinar. Joni, you are taking us to a hotel. So we're going to be live and direct, right? For our next technical training session. So what's the first thing that we're going to do? We may want to alter how it is that the colors or the look and feel of the artwork, right? So maybe Joni's conference colors may not quite be blue. Maybe we want a little bit of red going on here, because remember we said red, excitement, boldness, attention grabbing. So if it is that I wanted to alter this aspect of the element, when I click on the element that I want, you'll notice some additional menu options that will pop up. So clicking on this, we're seeing the background color that is in this artwork here. So all I have to do in order to make a change is to go ahead and click on the color. And then I'm going to search for the shade of color that I want, right? But let's say, Joni, you know what? You didn't give me the shade of red that you wanted to utilize, right? You didn't. So what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to use your red anymore. What I want to do is I'm going to try and use something else to kind of give me the feel that I want. So let's say we're going to be by the beach, right? So I've forgotten about the color. And this, by the way, guys, is the design process. It's a trial and error, because sometimes you don't have everything going on all the time that you want to. So I thought I had Joni's read, but she didn't share it with me, so I don't know what her shade of red is. So I'm going to do, I'm switching it up. I'm going to, because Joni is taking us all the way to Mabe, we want the flyer to feel like Mabe, right? Mabe for me means beach. So in the background here of this artwork, we see that there's a photo element here. See this? As I clicked on it and I'm able to move it, it means that I can actually change it. So because I want beach and not this kind of cityscape anymore, where am I going to hop over to? Anybody? If I'm looking for another image.
You go to search and type beach or whatever you're looking for.
Which folder should I be in, Veronica? Or which menu option should I be in order to do that?
Just
Right. I think
you-
Gary,
Oh, pictures. Okay.
right. In this case, it's photos.
Yeah.
Or if you have uploaded the element, you can go on your element to look for it also.
Well done. So let's say we don't have a beach scene that we've uploaded, right? We want something generic. So we're gonna hop over to photos and then we're gonna search beach. Once we do a quick search, we have tons of options that are going to pop up here for us. Remember what we talked about, these little crowns mean? What they mean?
You'll
Right.
buy them.
It means you have to buy them. But we're not going to buy anything, right? We're keeping our coins in our pockets. We're doing this for free. Joni is not paying us to do this. So we're not going to pay for any elements, right?
Right.
So this matches what we want. So we want to have it fall into the artwork. Now we have two options. I can either click on the image and it will drop in the center of the artwork, or we delete that. I have the option of replacing the element that is here. And I can do that by clicking and holding the image that I want and going to until I see the element has been replaced.
Okay.
And bada boom, bada bing.
Bada bing, bada boom.
There we go. We're no longer in the city. We are at the beach, right? Let me do that again quickly. We have an existing element that matches what we want and we like the layout that is there. We've identified the image that we want to replace it with. If I click on it one time, it will drop in the center of the screen and I will have to kind of move it around to where I want it to, right? To go.
Right.
I have the option of making my life that much easier by replacing, remember again, I said, we like the element that's there. We like the placement of the element that's there. So all I want to do is replace the element. I'm just going to hold the artwork until it highlights the elements that I want to replace and let it go. And now I don't have to do anything to the artwork. It's going to simply fill in what is there because I like what's there. Boom, boom.
Yes.
So now we're at the beach. But now now back to our color palette before we even start looking at our text. This color palette is this kind of purplish is not really giving us beach vibes anymore, right? So maybe we've made the decision that let's go ahead and do something that's gonna match a little bit more to what our beach theme was. Remember we talked about being able to switch out elements. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to click on this background element here. We notice to our top left, our background color has been highlighted. We're gonna click on background color. And because we want to pull something from the image, what are we gonna do, guys? We are going,
go to the photo colors.
Go up, there's a picture, is up. No, come
Right.
at
This
photo
one?
color.
Click here. Yeah.
No, photo color.
Yes.
Photo color, and you choose from there. Wonderful color.
There you go.
Well, I was going to go to the pencil instead.
You can also do that. Let's try that option as well. So let's go to the document color and let's use our pen. So maybe we like the dark green from the leaf. Is that what we like?
I kind of like the blue.
The blue, all right. So which blue? Or were we talking with the sky?
Yeah.
All right, let's try for the sky. There we go. Right? So now our artwork now has a cohesive feel. Can we agree to that?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
2, 3 steps. and our artwork is now cohesive. I'm hoping, guys, that even though I'm working on this, you guys are playing around with your own pieces of artwork. I really want to see some of the pieces when we're done. I want to see at least one option from each. Don't be shy.
May I ask you to go back to that the top part that the beach that you brought in?
Yes.
You got it in without it covering the 3 photos that are there.
Right. So what I did was I used the second option of putting an image into it. Remember, there was an image here already. There was a pre-existing layout, and we agreed that we liked the way the layout looks as it is, right? What I want to do is I want to just switch out the background image. All I did was I grabbed, or let's try another beach photo. I grabbed the image that I wanted and I pulled it. So I'm clicking and holding, and I'm pulling it into the artwork until the element switches out by itself.
Okay.
Right?
So it doesn't have to be the same size. It will switch out to whatever the size is.
Correct. Okay, but what you'll find is that based on the dimensions or the layout of the image that you choose, and the layout, the dimensions of the layout of the image that is in the artwork, you might find that the software may zoom to a particular image. So my recommendation is always look at the layout of the element that you're trying to replace and try and match that. So if I have an image that is landscaped, look for landscape laid out images. If I have something that is in portrait, look for portrait images. So for example, quickly, so these are all landscape images because they're more wide than they're tall. But this particular image here is a square. So if I was to pull that into it, it actually zooms in order to fit, right? Which is not the most attractive thing for what it is that you want here. It kind of messes with the flow. So that's why we would definitely go and look for something that is matching up in terms of layout to what currently exists. Am I making sense?
Yes, you are.
All right, fantastic. So are we going back? Oh, I like that. But let's go back to our original. I'm liking this. So we're dropping our image in. And you know what? Are we feeling the blue or the green?
Let's see the green again.
All right. So how would we do that? Veronica,
Go back to
Veronica
color.
who said yes? Okay.
Yes.
So before we go back to color, we have to make sure that we're in the element we want to change, right?
Highlighting.
Yes, you notice that there's a purple border.
Right.
Right. And then we click on that, and then
we go to document colors, the arrow, and take the drop pencil.
And then we pull the green from wherever we want. So let's say the leaf, right?
Yeah.
You notice we got the darker part of the leaf, so we got a darker shade.
Right.
All right. All right. So let's say we're going to, how do we feel about that?
A lighter shade.
Yeah, I prefer the lighter one.
The lighter shade is better.
Right. So I went ahead and
because it's cohesive with the yellow print font.
Perfect. Very good point. So when we change the artwork, when we change the color in the background, you notice that it impacted the legibility or the readability of what is on our artwork, right?
Right.
So the darker color, if it is that we're going to use a yellow, you want something a little bit darker so that the yellow is going to pop from that. Right. The lighter you go with the yellow, the harder it is that you're going to see, and you'll find that with different color mixtures. So go ahead and play around with that. All right, so now we essentially have our color palette in place. We can take a quick look at this, and essentially what this artwork has is what we would want to communicate. So what we want to do now is we may want to customize the content, right? The copy that is there. So it's not a free webinar. It's we're going to go ahead and now start playing around and changing the font, or not the font, excuse me, the copy that is there, right? So we have a couple options here. So if it is that we're working, since this artwork has a couple things going on, we want to focus on one particular aspect as we're doing the edit, right? So I'm going to go ahead, because I'm focusing on this aspect, I'm gonna go here and zoom, all right? So there are a couple options here. I can drop in a logo and I can tweak it. So let's say we have, do we have a logo? Yes, no. We don't have a logo, right? Oh no, Joni has her logo, but Joni doesn't have the time to share her logo with us right now, right? So we don't, let's say we don't want this. We don't have a logo, we don't want it. We don't want that text here. We're gonna go ahead and change the information that's there. So it's not a free webinar, it's a paid session. And it's called How to Get Technical Expertise. This is the name of Joni's event. So my question here is, how do we feel about this text? How do we feel about legibility?
We can't see it.
It's too big.
We lose the technical expertise.
There we go.
Yeah. Yellow.
Yeah.
All right, so there are a couple things here. We change the background, so the yellow on the white or the light blue is a little bit difficult. Also, we're seeing where the technical expertise looks great, but is not doing a very good job in communicating what we want to. So as Paul said, the words technical expertise have essentially disappeared, right? I see some of you who have your cameras on are down into your screen in order to see what's there. That means we have a problem. So what we're gonna do is, we're not gonna fret, we're gonna click on what it is that we want to fix. So we're happy with paid session, we're happy with how to get. What we want to do is we want to change technical expertise. So remember, one of the rules that we said was we don't want to have too many types of fonts going on in the same piece of artwork. So my first thought is I would want to match it back to an existing piece of font that I'm happy with, right? So did we like what we saw for paid session? We're gonna play around with that. So what I'm going to do is, when I click on paid session, you notice that it showed me the size, it showed me the color, and it showed me the name of the font that's being used. So now that is a guide for me as I make my edit to the words technical expertise. So I'm just gonna click on technical expertise, click on the font name, and I'm going to search for the one that is there.
Oh.
Right? So now remember, we talked about font families, guys. Here is the Poppins family. So we have Poppins, which is the primary, which is what we have our primary text in, which is the paid words paid session. But maybe we also have extra bold, we have extra medium, and we have thin. If I want the words technical expertise to be high on the visual hierarchy, I may play around with dropping in extra bold. So when you click on it, you notice that there's been a change to the text on the right. So immediately as you click on something, it will change. But I don't really like how that looks. I think it's too heavy. I think it's doing too much right now at the moment, and it's taking up a whole lot of space. So maybe I want to dial it back to a medium, but I'm not really feeling that either. So let me try and see how it looks in the primary. All right, so it looks okay, but let's see if we
the color.
Sorry, it could be the color. All right, so let's say we're going to try and match it back to this one up here. So we've selected the text that we like, but it's still not doing it for us. So maybe the text is a little bit too big. So what if we minimize it and we stretch it? Right? If you notice the element is in purple, it means that I can play around with it as much as I want. I can manipulate it. So I've decided I'm going to stretch it out a little bit and see if we can get some balance there. But we're still, the problem that we're having right now is the background, which means that maybe we need to not only change the font, maybe we need to do something about the color, as somebody mentioned. So let's play around with the color and see what else we could utilize. What if we tried the green? right? Is the green doing what we want it to do? Let's zoom out a little bit and see how we feel about that.
Probably
Yes.
something darker.
Sorry?
Something a little darker.
Yes, let's try something a little bit darker, but maybe in the same color family, right? So what we can do is, you notice that when I clicked on the font and I went over to document colors, it was in the color palette that matched. So what I can do is, if I'm looking for something a little bit darker, I can drag towards the darker parts of the color scheme, and it will give me darker options. Right? So as I move, you notice the shades are changing, and you notice the shade in the box is changing as well. You notice the shade is changing up here. Look, guys. So I pull it up here, that changes. To the right, it changes to that. Further down, the darker it gets, but it remains in the same color kind of zone.
All right.
So we go ahead and we click on that. How do we feel about that? This pops a little bit better, right? And then there are other things that we could do. We'd probably maybe do a bold on it. Maybe we would put it in the same caps as this. So we could play around with it, but essentially we've achieved our purpose in getting it more visible, right? So let's move on to something else. This says guest speaker, but we have multiple speakers. So we might just want to throw in an S there. So let's look at now the lower section of the artwork. So we're gonna zoom in. We have our guest speakers. We have 3 slots for our guest speakers that we want to put in. So we want to drop in some images for them, right? Process is gonna be the same. Let's assume that we'd have uploaded pictures of our guest speakers already. So what would I do? I would run right over here to my uploads because I know where my images have been put in. And then as simple as I changed my landscape at the back, I'm going to change my images right in this circle here. So Isabel now becomes Abra.
Did you show us how to do the uploads?
So uploading is very simple and straightforward. Click on upload files and it will show you the options.
Okay.
And you can pull them.
Oh, okay.
All right. So we have our first person here. She's Abra. We're going to change out our second person here. We're going to put Billings here. Rashoy. And then maybe for our third person here, we're going to have Andre. Simple, straightforward. Find your image, drag it, drop it into the element that you want it to. If it's a situation where it is not in the kind of position the way you want, you double click and you can toggle and move it. So Andre was a little bit cut off. We've clicked on him. We've double clicked on him. We've moved the image to where we want and we've selected it so that he's displaying the way that we want him to display. All right. What else could we do to this artwork to make it more our own? What do we want to change, guys? Or what do we want to add? Let's say we want to add an element. Let's say we like the way that this is going on, but we want to, maybe we want to add a little pizzazz, right? Maybe we want to add something that is, some arrows maybe. Let's see. So let's say we want to bring attention. We like this, but we want to replace them, right? These, as you can see here, are elements. Can do with them what you wish. So let's say we want to get rid of that element and use something else that's more appealing to us. Drag, drop. But what you want to do is you want to get rid of that first. So I literally selected the item. I'm clicking either the garbage bin here or the delete on my computer. If I wanted to duplicate it and have more than one element, If I wanted to keep this, I don't have to go and search for it again. I select the elements, I duplicate it, and I drag it to what I want. Right? But let's say we don't want these guys. We want our own fancy arrows, right? So I have the option, I can drag it and place it where I want it to. And then I have the option of just resizing. So now I have a different element, but guess what? I want this element to match the color scheme, of course, right? I just click on my elements, click on my color, select it from my color scheme, and there we are. So I know, guys, that you are observing this and maybe you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed. Learn by doing. How are we feeling?
I have a lot of practicing to do because it's been a while I've been trying to get to that and I get frustrated and leave it alone. Okay. So I appreciate you taking us through step by step, but it's a more than one practice for me to get.
100%. And exactly as you've said, Veronica, is the case that's going to apply to everybody. I can literally have you here all day walking you through all of the features and the things that you can do. But what I've outlined thus far are the core things that you're going to utilize in your primary designs. I saw a thumbs up from Jerry Robinson. She seems to be doing well. Everybody seems to be. Is everybody comfortable? Can I get a thumbs up? I think what I'm going to do.
I have not done anything, to be honest.
Okay.
I've not gotten from here to there.
No problem. So what you can do is you can actually take the exercise that I have given to you and you can practice after the end of the session. So what I'm going to do is we only have 5 minutes left. Yes, we have run through 2 hours already. In fact, Joni has told me it's 4 minutes that we have left. So I'm going to go ahead and open up for straightforward, direct questions. If you need to practice, but let's hear the questions that I may not have been able to address thus far. I see where Toastmaster Brooks, Vernicia, you can go ahead and unmute your mic and let me see how quickly I can answer your question. Go ahead.
Yes, good evening. My question is, how do you get your picture? For example, you have the circles. Get your picture to fit in the circles. If you have a picture that's uploaded, how do you to fit in that circle?
All right, so 2 options again. If I'm working from a predetermined template, the size of the image in that template is already there, right? So really what I'm doing is I'm utilizing that same drag and drop, and what it will do is it will resize an image as best as it can fit, right?
Okay.
Is that you are working on your own from scratch, then you are going to have to determine, you're going to have to kind of manipulate the image to fit it to the element that you want it to. So let's do a quick example here. So let's say I wanted, this image is more wide than what's here. So let's say I had dragged this image into where Andre is. You notice that the software itself has resized because there's a predetermined image there.
Okay, yes.
So if you had a situation, so I'm hoping I've answered your question. I've answered your question.
Yes, so that I understood. But what if you do not have that predetermined and you want it to fit that way? That's not possible.
What do you mean fit that way?
For example, if I'm doing a Facebook flyer and I want to place, I have 3 speakers and I want to place them in this, the way you have it here, and I'm not using a template from scratch. That's.
Well, what you would have to do is you would have to structure that layout yourself. So let me see if I can walk this through quickly. So you have some element options here where you
Yeah,
have
those elements I use, yes.
photo grid. Let's say, for example, see if grid is going to pull it for me quickly. All right, so they have something here. They have different